All right. Hello, MOHAI education staff and volunteers, potential catalogers. I am going to take you on a short tour of CollectiveAccess. We'll start here with the login. Just get logged in. And today I'm going to talk to you about some of the features, how to find things within CollectiveAccess, and what the different menus are. So to start out with, this is your dashboard. Each user can customize the things that appear on this dashboard by adding what they call widgets. So you can add a widget here by clicking the Add a Widget button and add everything from a clock to lolcats to message of the day, but also other information you might want to be able to see right when you log in about items within the database. So they are recently created records by status, saved searches. If you have something that you search for all the time, you can save it as a search and it will show up right away for you. You can search by sets, and I'll talk a little bit more about sets in a minute, but basically a set is a user-generated list of different items within the collection. So this can be a collection of items that you're thinking about putting together for a new program or a new trunk, things like that. You can have that show up on your dashboard as well. So all sorts of ways to customize that. So other than that, what you see here is sort of the landing page, and at the top here is your global navigation, and I'm going to go just quickly through each of these and then talk a little bit more about the stuff inside of each of them. So this new tab here is where you go to create any new object, an artifact, a document, to start creating a new public program or a collection, so a trunk or a program. This is where you start for that. Find is basically your search tab here. This is where you would go to search and browse for different objects, again, collections and programs, things like that. That's all here. Manage tab is where you manage your personal preferences and where people who have access to the administrative side of things can modify things like access control and the lists and vocabularies that are used within the database, and as well as edit metadata and all other kinds of things like that. Import is a tab where you can use to import media, so large batches of photographs and things like that, and I'm not going to go too far into that, but that's where you can find that. History is a nice little tab that will show you the recent places that you've been, so you can go quickly back to an object that you just looked at or a list that you were editing and things like that. And this here is just sort of a quick search bar, and that will search the entire web database and not just items. So to start with, we will talk about the Manage tab, since that's where a lot of the options are here. So all of these at the top, my preferences and my project teams, displays, sets, those will be different for each user. Within the My Preferences tab, you can basically edit the way that screens appear for you when you go to edit items. So most of them you'll probably want to just keep a standard object editor, but if you do ever end up customizing some displays or user interfaces, as they call them, this is where you can decide which ones to use. But for the most part, all the ones we've set up are pretty basic and standard, and you'll probably just want to keep those as they are. The other things you can edit here are screens for batch editing, the way that it looks when you want to quick add an item, all those kinds of things. And your user profile here is where you can add things like your address and your phone number if you want that to appear. The nice thing too about how I have this set up is that this will show you sort of the crumb trail of where you are, which is a nice sort of point of reference for when you're working within the database. The next thing that you can do within the Manage tab are manage your sets, which, like I said, those are individually made, created groupings of items, and I've created one here called Batch Edit. And I've just put this one together because the way that you can batch edit items is through a set. So if you want to edit one field on a bunch of different items, you would want to create a set to do that, and we can go into that a little bit more in another one, but briefly, this is where it shows up. So if there are other sets, this is where they are. you can create a new user set containing different objects, and in order to create a new one, you just click that plus button up there and you're ready to go. The other thing that you can do inside of here, if you have the permissions, is to edit the lists and vocabularies. The lists and vocabularies are things that we have set up, any of the things that appear in drop-down menus as something you can't just type into a text box or into an open field. So a few of the ones that we have here are things like theme, and time period is a big one. So if you need to add in a new time period, if you need to add, if you need to delete something from one of the lists, that's where you would do it from, is from here and the lists and vocabularies. The other thing that you can do from the manage is the access control, and so this first screen here will show you who has user logins and what their email is and the last time that they logged in. So you can create new users here, and you can also manage permissions for different types of groups. So right now we just have administrators and catalogers, but you might also want to create a profile for volunteers or interns, something like that, and this is where you would do it. You would just click new group, and then you can set up their permissions. So the access roles is the other part of this, and within the access roles, it will give you a few to choose from, and then over here, this what looks like a sheet of paper is the edit tab. So if you want to edit the permissions that say somebody who you have listed as a researcher is, you would click that document looking thing, and here's where you get a list of all of the different types of things that somebody could do, and you can set whether or not you want people to be able to do them. So that all happens here under the Manage tab and the Access Control. The final thing that you can do under the Administration tab is really where you can control a lot of the way the database appears and the different metadata elements within the database. So this is sort of the back-end configuring side. Again, we don't expect that you will need to configure too much of this, but if you want to, this is where it starts. The user interfaces are the way that screens appear for people using the database. So it's the way that a new records sheet appears when you look at it, when you click to make a new record. It's all of those things. So this is where you can edit it. The other thing you can edit here are the metadata elements. So these are things like the address, if that's an element, or a field that you can fill in. You can edit the condition. All of these different items here are metadata fields that are included within the database somewhere. So this is where you can add new metadata fields, edit the details of one that already exists, things like that. Something else that you might want to do here is a configuration check. This configuration check will tell you how the program is running and show you if there are any issues and errors within it. And there are a couple right now, but they're nothing major and everything still works pretty much fine. So one thing that you will probably want to do relatively often is under the Maintenance tab. And that's where you can rebuild search indices, reload sort values, rebuild hierarchical indices, and export the configuration. So basically, that gives you a nice description of what each thing does. Rebuild search indices will basically just go through and re-index everything that you have recently added to your database, which will make sure that when you do run a search for something, you can find it again and that everything is all synced up. Same thing with reload sort values. That's another sort of reset, making sure that you have everything included that you've just added. And then exporting the configuration will export the XML file that the database is written in. So if you ever need that, that's where it is. The next thing that I'll talk to you a little bit about is searching in here. So under the Find tab, You can search for specific things, but mostly you'll probably be looking for objects. And what you see here on this first screen, actually we'll start here. So probably when you first open it up, it'll just go to the basic search screen here, and that's just one text box. You can type in any part of a record, if it's a name or the ID number or you know, something about it, a color. This will search all of the fields in the record to bring things up for you. So just quickly, blue willow china plate, which we searched for before, and we'll hit search, and it will show you. So this is what it looks like when it comes back with your results. The other thing, though, that you might want to do is as an advanced search, and we have built this particular form. It's called the advanced search form, with some custom fields, including things that we thought might be helpful to collect certain items altogether for. So you can search by object ID, you can search by related theme. So if you're looking for all the items that are included in the Great Depression or the Great Seattle Fire, or something like settlement, you can choose that and then hit search, and it should co-locate all of the items that are listed under settlement theme. So the other things we have here are time period, by trunk title, the way it was originally used. So hopefully this will help quickly co-locate items that are either near each other physically or related in theme somehow, things like that. You can also use the extended search if you want. This is the sort of standard form that CollectiveAccess came with, and but we have developed the advanced search specifically for this collection. The other thing that you can do is browse. And browsing starts here by collections, access statuses, types, or object titles. So you click object titles, it'll take you here, and then you can jump to ones by letter, and it will give them to you alphabetically. And you can also use that to get to a record. Okay, so I think that's about it for a really basic overview of where to find things. And I hope that that has been helpful and that you have fun poking around in here, and feel free to explore. There are a lot of features and a lot of different ways to use the database. So, thank you.